Hi, I'm Jennifer Chino with Anchored Annapolis, and today I'm here with Dave London of Timberlake Homes and Timberlake Design Build. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful.
Well, we're excited today because we're going to go over a bunch of different things, but the first thing we're going to start to talk about is something that's been very important for people lately is staying where they are and sort of improving instead of moving, because the housing market is very difficult, as we've all experienced. And one of the options that is a great option is to stay where you are and just improve. So today we're going to talk with Dave a little bit about that to start off with. So Dave, tell us a little bit about how that works. What are some of the options and things that you've sort of seen in the market?
Sure, yeah. What we find is people, their life change. Their families grow. The way they live in their houses from when they bought it to now has changed. And a lot of people, their house doesn't fit them any longer. And some people say, go buy a new home or build a new home. And that has its challenges given availability of land and where they can build. And
Right.
most people say, I love my neighbors. I love my commute to work. I love the schools. My church or my synagogue is nearby. So all those factors come into play, whether someone wants to move. Well, if they improve their place, all that goes away, and they can just focus on making what's wrong with the house better for them.
So do you see that people typically expand, or they just completely renovate?
Usually a combination of both.
Okay.
Sometimes it depends on the house, and each lot is different. Do you have the room to expand? Do you want to expand? Is this going to take out space for a deck or a patio, or do you have current patio and decking? So can you expand out? Can you expand up? Or do you just rearrange the space you have? So it all depends on everybody's specific situation. And so we sit down and spend a lot of time getting to know people's needs, their wants. What do we have to work with? And then how can we make that fit and address the ills of the house?
Well, it's interesting too, because one of the things that I've been talking to people about when they are considering moving, and we talk to mutual clients of ours, is if you're looking to buy something, the things that are sort of sitting on the market are the things that aren't renovated or done. And a lot of times people feel very overwhelmed with that process. And I know you make it very streamlined and easy for people and a consultative approach and walk them through beginning to end. But one of the other things is, buying a house that needs some love, that people just haven't taken that on, and then improving that as well. So whether it's improving the current house that you're in and staying there, or purchasing a house that needs maybe kitchens and bathrooms done, or just some updating, that can be an option as well, because those are the houses that are typically staying on the market longer.
Correct.
The other thing that I've noticed is there's a lot more multi-generational buyers out there. Have you been seeing that as well?
Yeah, probably, I don't know the exact numbers. So I'd say probably 40-50% of the people that are coming to us now have a situation where it's maybe for financial reasons, it may be for family reasons, it may be for daycare reasons. We've done a lot of homes where mom and dad are going to live in the home full-time with their children and their grandchildren, which really helps everybody. Mom and dad get to spend time with the grandkids, but do they have the space they need for that? And I've seen that as simple as a room and a bathroom attached to a house. I've also seen it as mom and dad, they want some separation. And they're like, we love our kids, we love our grandkids, but we need our own space.
Right.
And so they'll have a kitchen and a living area of their own, separate side entrance, they can come and go. Sometimes garages become an issue because everyone wants to park their car in the garage. So a lot of it is that aspect of it. Sometimes it's people with returning children, adult children, that maybe just because of the economy and they need a place. And a lot of it is just good planning, where it's like, I want space for my kids now. They can take care of me as I get older. So a lot of it is a big mix, but yeah, a lot of it is multi-generational.
So sort of aging in place, having those conversations or thinking about that. I know we're sitting in the Timberlake Hawthorne model, and then you can't see it, but right around the corner is it's a bedroom, bathroom. It's sort of an in-law suite, but on
Correct.
the main level, which is great. So again, when thinking about aging in place, and having sort of one level living is really important as well.
It is, and a lot of it's just interesting when typically when my kids are now gone, but when you're raising kids, people want their bedroom on the level of the kids, and a lot of people don't want a first floor owner suite because they want to be with the kids. But then, as that changes, it's like, well, do I really want to do stairs the rest of my life? And it keeps you in shape, but most people, their kids are gone, they want that main level living space. But again, if it's multi-generational, you have to think about that. Maybe do I have 2 owner suites?
Right.
So we have a traditional house with an owner suite upstairs with the bedrooms, but we have another one downstairs.
Yes, so when people come to visit, they have the upstairs and there's a little bit of separation as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about doing, maybe adding on for multi-generational or sort of improving, what are some of the setbacks or the things that people need to watch out for? And then what would be the initial steps? And then we're going to sort of add on to that and go into sort of more of the ADUs. But what are some of the things that people need to look out for if they're looking to expand or improve?
Well, sometimes it starts sometimes with the lot. Do I have, how much room do I have? If I'm on public water and sewer, then that makes it real easy. If you're on a septic system, if you're adding square footage, that could could limit your ability.
Okay.
Because if your existing septic is approved for certain square footages, that could limit you. So a lot of it is doing homework with people, because most people, they don't know the capacity of their septic systems. They don't know even where it is sometimes. Right. And so we're kind of we're putting an investigator hat on and say, okay, what are the go, no-goes for this? And so it's a process. We're kind of working our way down the funnel, big ticket items first, and then working with people. And I liken it that it's very, very complicated, but when you do this all the time, it's simple.
Yes.
I can't build a computer. I know how to work one. Most people don't know how to build a house or how to renovate a house, but our whole goal is to try and be the expert in the middle of this. And we'll bring the architects or the engineers or the designers that are necessary, but we know the process, and we want to try and help people eliminate the pain points, eliminate the decisions that are needed to be made to get them there. So a lot of it is spending time with people and just getting to know them, what they want, and we don't want to pour cold water on their dreams. Right. But sometimes we have to be honest too and say, can we do what we want to do?
Realistic.
And how does this fit the budget? Right. Because the budget is always the limiting factor. I find a lot of people don't want to share their budget. Right. Because they're like, interesting? I find it sometimes comes down to a couple of different things. Sometimes I don't want to tell you my number, because if I tell you it's $300,000, your price will come in at $299. Right. And I've told people, I don't care really what your budget is. I need to know if it's realistic. But at some point, the number is going to come in where it's going to come in at. Some people I find, they don't know what it should be. Right. And so they don't want to sound like it's too big or too small. And bottom line is, whether your budget is $100,000 or $5 million, everyone's wish list is bigger than a budget. Right. And I've had one customer in 22 years whose wish list was well within his budget. And I could spend $200,000 more. So everyone's in the same boat. So let's try and get that information, because it could limit you what you want to do. Right.
Well, one of the reasons when we first started working together that I really resonated with was the fixed price contract. Mm-hmm. And I found that was so refreshing, because a lot of other builders and experiences my clients have had, the budget just was out the window, and it was shocking. And when people sort of have that budget in mind, it's nice to know that you have a fixed price contract, and that can change, and people can, but it's a discussion. It's not a surprise, it's really important.
I always tell them I want to be the budget cop, where if you tell me I want to spend this, I don't want to go over that line. And I've worked with people where we've agreed on the budget, agreed upon finishes, but then they start saying, "Oh, I want to do this," and I feel saying, I got to pull you back, just so you know, because at the end of the day, if you told me your budget was $450 and all of a sudden you're spending $650, are you really going to be happy at the end of the day with the financial burden that comes with that? Right. And so the fixed price contract, you make all your selections, we get all the design hammered out. Once you're ready to start, you've made all your selections. There's no surprises at that point. Now, can you make changes? Sure. But the changes are going to slow things down and cost money. And it's all the same amount of decisions, whether you make them before or during construction. We say make them all before, so we all have a game plan, so we can get the work done and get out quickly.
Yes.
Another important thing as part of that is that you mentioned looking at maybe resale houses is most people don't have good vision.
Right.
They see something
don't.
they dislike.
Right.
They see pictures of houses they like,
Right.
and they say, how do I make this
Correct.
happen? So I know we've worked lots of times walking houses with people saying, here's what you can do, and here's a budget for doing that. Between COVID and some other increases in pricing, right now for a really nice custom renovation job or a custom home, you're probably looking at $300 a square foot. So if someone says, I want to add 500 square feet to my house, you start doing the math and say that times 300, and that'll give you a good approximation. But it's really important and we do lots of free consulting, to walk through with people, because we don't want someone to make a mistake and buy a house
Right.
that they want to do something to, and then they find out there's a septic issue or a setback
Correct.
issue or something. So I hate to see people come to us with something that's unbuildable.
Well, and it's interesting because in my real estate world, when I'm showing houses to people, I always say if they're waterfront or there's a septic, is this the size house you want? Or is this the view you want? Because most likely you may not be able to change it, or you may be able to just go 50% over, because that's a huge thing when it comes to buying something that's already built, or, raw land. That's a whole nother thing. But I think there's this idyllic dream that people have that they want to build their own house. Like that, I think that's most people I've ever worked with in 20 years of doing this. That is everybody's dream, is just building their dream house. And it's amazing, and I would personally love to do it. But there are things to take into consideration, and especially in the area where we live, it's hard to find the land that works with it. But you can do that. But the other option is buying something that is with a resale home and then sort of turning that into your dream home, because that can be a lot easier with where we live.
It's a lot easier from a standpoint of finding something in that location you want to be.
Correct.
I mean, could you go South County? Could you go someplace far and wide and find a lot? Sure. But is that going to be where you want to
Right.
be? And most people, a lot of people, they want that privacy, but most people want to be in a community.
Right.
And they want to be able to, envision that. And so to me, it's most satisfying. It's always satisfying to see someone's end product. But when you find a large renovation, where you take a house, whether they've lived in it, they love the location, but they really hate what they're with, and to take that and turn it into their dream home, that's a lot harder than building a house from the ground
Yeah.
up. But it's much more satisfying when
Right.
you're done, because everyone says, holy smokes, look what we've accomplished. And the key is to try and make it look like it's always been there. So you could take a house and completely renovate it, change things around, but you don't want it to see like it's tacked on. You want it to look like it's been seamless.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
The other thing that is newer to Anne Arundel County is the ADUs, which
Yep.
is hopefully going to help with the housing shortage that we have. Can you talk a little bit about ADUs and your process, and just sort of explain what that is, because a lot of people probably
Sure,
don't even know
sure.
what ADUs are.
The ADU is an accessory dwelling unit, and the thought came up really on the West Coast. You have densely developed areas, is okay, there's no more land,
Right.
but we need more people. And so the thought was, let's put an accessory dwelling unit on a property, has a kitchen, has a living space, has a bedroom and a bathroom, where someone could live that's separate and detached from the main residence. Anne Arundel's always allowed attached type units, but you have funky things like a breezeway or
Right.
weird ways connecting something to
Right.
it. The county has approved to do up to 900 square foot separate building where someone could live in. And that solves a lot of pain points for people that, like the in-laws that don't necessarily want to be in the house.
Right.
Well, mom and dad could be in the backyard, have their own independent house, but you're right there accessible. Some people will start off and build them as an office, maybe as a workout gym, maybe as a studio, artists. But it starts off as that, but then you think down the future, well, it's a great place to age in place. So maybe at some point you move into the dwelling unit, your adult kids now come into the house and they raise their family there. So it gives you lots of flexibility. And it really helps people because maybe you can't add on to the house in a smart way, have a separate unit off to the back.
So if someone's interested in looking at potentially building an ADU, are there certain ways that they should start looking at that? Does it have to be, like, let's say a detached garage that's already there, or can they build something from scratch now?
You could build from scratch.
Okay.
Again, a lot comes back down to doing that investigation. Okay, I've got my house here, I've got my septic system here, I've got my well here. Where can I locate that unit on the property? And then just what are the capacities of it, and what setbacks? Because the setback rules are different for an ADU than from a primary residence. So setback mean I could build closer to a property line than I normally could on an individual house. So it just gives you flexibility. And we're working with an architect now that we like to work with, where he's done a couple of different concepts for people that will show you, again, on paper, here's what this could look like. And, you know, usually want to fit into the neighborhood, you want to fit into the house, but I've seen some ADUs where they're completely different, where it's this really modern, contemporary unit in the backyard, because someone says, that's kind of the style I want for that.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and if
Thank
you
you.
have any questions for Dave, I'll have his contact information, or feel free to leave a comment, and we will get that over to him. Thank you so much
Okay,
for
thank
joining
you.
us.
Always a pleasure.